Hey everybody, Michael with CoronavirusDiaries, and today I just want to touch briefly on security, and I'm going to share a common thread or thought that was shared frequently within the security community when I was a part of it and practicing, and that is this. Security is like a double-edged sword. So if you're doing your job the way that you should be, whether it's for information security, physical security, or development of the policies that go into effect to ensure security, if you're doing your job, there's a good chance that the people around you that are not focused on security may question why you have a job. So if you're protecting physical assets or information security, what have you, and nothing ever bad seems to happen from the outside, then obviously people are going to say, well, why do we even need you? But it's because you're doing your job. Whereas on the flip side of that, if you slip even once and adversaries get the best of you, you and your position will be deemed ineffective, right? So you could be trying to do your job, and 99% of the time you do it. The 1% chance or 1% of the time that it doesn't go through, people are going to look at you, you failed. So security is always a double-edged sword, and it's almost like you're always fighting an uphill battle. In corporate America, you're going to always be fighting against having financing and resources in order to do the security. And with that, I want to share a story of somebody that I do not know myself, but many people in the security industry hail this person a hero, and even outside of that. And this individual's name, or he's known as RiskAura. He was the director of security for Morgan Stanley firm at the World Trade Center prior to 9/11. He was a former law enforcement officer, paratrooper in the British military, and then the security director for Morgan Stanley, the firm. So the interesting thing about this is this guy would drill evacuation drills, right? Drilling a World Trade Center, massive infrastructure, and doing that over and over again to where people understood exactly what they needed to do, how they needed to do it. Post 9/11, many people, RiskAura actually ended up dying in 9/11 because of 9/11 and trying to ensure that everybody got out. Well, he's held as a hero to many, right? So he, even in times when there wasn't an attack or wasn't something horrible happening, he was ensuring to drill that narrative to all those that, for the most part, don't want to think about it, don't need to think about it. There's other jobs that have to be taken care of and done. And that's why there are security professionals, and that's why there's other people in different parts of the industry. The interesting thing, though, is that it's necessary, right? So, and the reason that I'll bring this back to what's going on right now with the current COVID pandemic, COVID-19, is there's a lot of stuff that's happening right now that, you look at, there's people now that are being charged with reckless endangerment, and a lot of other things. They're throwing like COVID-19 pandemic parties. They're throwing concerts, and, they're getting arrested and they're getting charged. And that just lends itself to this mindset. You don't have to be a security professional or have had school for it or been in the military or law enforcement or what have you. But in security, one of the things that would be a driving factor for developing culture around security is that everybody is their own security professional. It's kind of that mindset. If you see something, say something. There's this bigger picture. It's a social narrative of community. And I guess that's really what I'm getting at now is there's a lot of stuff right now that are eating into our way of life and our culture and the way that we would like things to be and we would hope them to be, but for the greater good, for this time period, it's necessary to adhere to these things. What you're seeing now, this is my 30-minute reprieve from a 300 square foot box that I call home at the moment. It is what it is, if it gets to a point where I'm not even allowed to go outside for some fresh air during the day, I can't even imagine. It's going to be super sketchy. Basically be like being incarcerated. So that'll present a whole other host of things, and It's actually something that we can get into with Dr. Scarborough and some of the other sessions where we talk about, he's a doctor in psychology, and the last session we did actually talked about pandemic and mental health, and we don't have to go too far down it. I mean, I guess it kind of relates to security. My understanding is in Minnesota that 2/3 of the 911 calls last week, or some like a week ago, was all domestic related. Go figure, right? Like, in a sense, it's security. But without getting too far off topic, we're all security professionals, and we're all, we all need to do our part in order to ensure that this way of life that we have all become so fond of can kind of get back to it. And it's going to be a slow process, but one that's necessary. The reason that we practice security, as security professionals, the way that you do it is so that you don't get to a position, you try to do the best you can with the resources you have so that you don't ever get to a space where it's, critical failure. And I guess, I'll even piggyback on what happened with the aircraft carrier and the captain. I'll keep my political views out of it. But, I would say unequivocally, it's a little risky. It's very risky to put out information that adversaries could use against a government or a fighting force readiness, our fighting readiness as a nation to defend ourselves. If suddenly all of our adversaries are seeing that all of our aircraft carriers are offline because everybody's sick, prime time to strike, Strike when the iron is hot. So I can see both sides of that argument, that debate, as somebody that's trying to look out for the best for their constituents, the soldiers, the Navy personnel, the air wing, everybody on the aircraft carrier. They're looking out for them, trying to ensure that there's not undue carnage. At the same time, giving away basically state secrets, suggesting that their aircraft carrier isn't mission ready or mission capable. It's all subjective, opinion based on my end, but I want to talk about security a little bit. It kind of ebbed and flowed a little bit, and that's pretty much it. So I guess moving forward, through this and even the foreseeable future, even once COVID is over, start thinking about security a little bit. Anybody that's never really considered it, little things that you do, like wearing a mask when you go to a grocery store. Yeah, you don't have to, but it's thinking about the bigger picture, the things that you do now so that you don't have to deal with the repercussions later. If New York is any indicator now, 1,000+ fatality death rates. I guess that's the state side, but New York is going to hit this critical point this week, and it's because of things that happened 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And unfortunately, I think there's going to be other communities that are going to see the fallout from decisions made 2 or 3 weeks ago by, a general population, or a percentage of the population, rather, that didn't want to think holistically, large, big picture, societal levels of, collaboration, if you will. So, if you haven't before, start thinking of it now. You're a security specialist, you're a professional, you can be. You just start thinking about situational awareness, being aware of yourself, and kind of the actions that you're taking. So with that, I'm going to jump off. Stick around, we got some more stuff coming at you this week. Going to start repeating or getting back with some of the folks that we had interviewed, a week and a half ago, and just kind of see developments, what's kind of going on in their area of the world. And it's been pretty interesting to see what's happened in just the last week alone. So until next time, you guys stay safe out there, and take care.